Happy Satanic Easter, Patriots. This is Peter Temple, the Truth Sage, and the date today, this calendar is coming out on April the 5th, 2026. Of course, that's a lot of people are celebrating Easter, but it really is Satanic Easter. It's on the Gregorian calendar, and I'm going to give you a kind of a layout. So the Gregorian calendar, of course, is a fake calendar that was put in place in 1582. And the real calendar is the Julian calendar, and all of the red dates here are Julian calendar days with the J in front of it. But this is April 1st on the Julian calendar. This is April 1st on the Gregorian calendar, and here we are today. So we've had our April 1st. We're sitting on Satanic Easter, which is the 5th. The real Easter is the 12th of the month, okay? And I'm going to show you how that works into the calendars, because we have to take 13 days out of the Gregorian calendar to get to the Julian calendar date here. So I hope that makes sense. But this is the key day, the 14th of the month, which is Gregorian. And all my Gregorian dates are at the top right. You can see it starts April 1, and this is the 14th. And the Julian date is April the 1st down here. And let me take you through it sort of panel by panel so you can see exactly what's coming up. I am considering, on a larger scale, I am suggesting we're going to have, like, big time. I'm really expecting the RV to be this coming week. You're starting to see things that are leading to it, and I am expecting that we're not going to get EBS until the 15th on the Gregorian calendar, which is actually the 2nd of April, because Trump said everything was going to start on the 2nd of April. This is the real 2nd of April here on the 15th, and this would take us to the 24th. That's 10 days. This is about 7 days up here. These kind of a brown, it's kind of supposed to be gold, but you never get gold. You never get close to gold. So in terms of the color. So I'm expecting this to be the money coming out, the distribution, and the RV, which is the revaluation of currencies and going into redemption centers and all that kind of thing. So let's start at the beginning of April. We had a big full moon. And that was a pink moon, so that was something to watch for. And it also started Passover from April 1 to 8. And that was Passover being the exodus of Israelites from slavery. So that's freedom. That says freedom. And again, that could be down here as well, because it depends on what calendar we're looking at. I think that it might actually relate to the Julian calendar and actually start April 1st down here. But that remains to be seen. We had the Trump card. Looks like it may have been played on, I'm not sure, it's starting to get played, I think, because he disappeared on Friday. That would be the Satanic Good Friday on the 4th on the Gregorian calendar. And it's also, if you look at the Julian dates, you get 111, 1111. So a whole set of ones, and Patriots know all about angel numbers and what that means. So it's actually, this is still March on the Gregorian calendar. March, of course, will last until April the 1st down here. But that's on the Julian. On the Julian calendar, it's still March, and on the Gregorian calendar, we're already in April. And of course, April will go right through. But we're going to have 13 days taken out of that calendar to bring the Julian calendar into sync with the April 1st here. So April 1st, there's 13 days between the 14th and the 1st here. And so you take those 13 days out and we go back here. But I don't think that's exactly how it's going to work. I think and I'll show you what I think is going to work as we go along. We're in the scare event. I think that started last week, and it has to play out until these buildings go. And I think these buildings are going to go within the next 3 days. And I'm talking about the 34 satanic buildings all around the world, primarily in the U.S., but, it extends to the UK and it extends to some other countries, UK particularly with the Buckingham Palace is leaving. The Congress building is leaving, and so is the White House. So it's going to be interesting. There's 34 different buildings. They're actually calling, or Trump called this day Bridge Day, which is the 7th, which is 2 days from now. So here we are today on Satanic Easter on the 5th. I think the Statue of Liberty buildings are going to go down somewhere in this area the next 3 days. But since he called it Bridge Day, I think he is referencing the San Francisco Bridge, and it's supposed to go down. So we're going to see whether that goes down that day, and I would expect the buildings to go down that day if that's the case. And then we've got the Three Gorges Dam in China, which is supposed to go down. So I think we're looking at that. Trump disappeared on Friday. He's got supposedly a scheduled announcement on Monday, which sort of is like him disappearing and coming back for resurrection because of the Satanic Easter. So that's something to kind of watch. I've placed the Statue of Liberty 34 buildings because I think it could go anywhere in this area. I put that here. And that is, and we're expecting, this is pain day. 23 means pain. So it could start here with the buildings, or it could go over to the 7th. I don't know, but I think within this area. This is Trump's deadline, which I hear in the last hour or so has been moved to the 7th. He gave Iran a deadline of saying that you have to do a deal, and this has to do primarily with data that is under in some tunnels, and they have the blackmail list, the Iranians do, the blackmail list of all the elites and everybody that was blackmailed by them. And so once Trump gets his hands on that, look out, going to be an awful lot more elite arrests coming up. So that will go, apparently, we're hearing that that's going to go straight to Gitmo or to the DOJ, however they're doing this, but it'll go to the military primarily, and that list will be exorcised, we'll call it that. Then I'm thinking we may get the market top. So Trump coming back, the deadline extension was moved over here to the 7th just a little while ago. The market top, I'm thinking, may happen on Monday. It's ready to go, but I think it depends on what Trump says or does and whether he disappears again, and when the Statue of Liberty and buildings go down, because he's not supposed to be around when all of these buildings get bombed. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but we are going to see him again apparently on Monday. Now, that could be pre-recorded. We just don't know. So that's something I'll be watching for to see whether it's CGI. But I think the market top is here. And of course, we can't have the RV until the market tops and we get the revaluation of currencies. And currencies are the core of the market. So that's going to be a major top. And also, all of these monies that are coming out, for example, the straw man and all your previous taxes, and they're going to move the market as well. But that is only for the patriots. The patriots, the Anons who have been in places like Telegram and are fully awake, are going to be going to redemption centers and participating, hopefully, in humanitarian projects and converting their currencies and also getting access to their accounts. And they'll be getting a new phone, a new cell phone, which will give them access to their accounts, and that will be a main tool that we'll be using going forward. And I'm not going to go into that here because it would take me a while to get through it all, but big things are happening. So get ready to go in for the T4B people. You know who you are. Generally, you're people that are awake, that have been following this. A lot of starseeds, a lot of other people that have woken and have currencies, and so that's all going to happen. So that's our key date here. They're calling it Power Plant Day for Iran and Bridge Day, which I think has to do, as I said, with the Golden Gate Bridge going down, because it's supposed to be trundled. We'll call it trundled. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're going to destroy it totally, but they're going to destroy something there because it is a pedophile transportation route. Okay, I think it's underneath it, but it certainly is one. So here's T4, RV, T4B. The alert should start here. I think that Trump would have to disappear in this area sometime soon for a longer period, or will he only go for a couple of days? I don't know how that's going to play out. But J.D. Vance apparently is going to be in power when he leaves, and of course he's not a good guy. Well, he's an actor, but he wasn't a good guy in his original life. He's an actor. He's central casting, and virtually everybody is. ESA alerts, EAS alerts are the alerts that we're supposed to get 7 of them. This is actually 7 days in here, and these gold panels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 takes us right to the end of the month, because this is the Julian 31st of March date. And then we have April here, which, as I said, I think is going to start EBS. I've got a couple of other notes in here. I think around the 9th, we're going to have MedBeds live. Now, that will be primarily because we haven't gone through the EBS, because nobody but patriots knows what a MedBed is pretty well. So they will be for patriots that are doing humanitarian projects that need it. MedBeds will take us through. And they will, of course, stay in place. And eventually, when we get to the end of the emergency broadcast system, which I have in green here, then we will have them available for the normies as well, for everybody else on Earth, and everybody gets to use them for free. So that's MedBeds, an important date. This is the end of 10 days. Trump had said this 10 days for NASA, so I think we're going to have the expose of NASA on the 10th, because, of course, they're a cabalish organization, and they've fired off a rocket, which was all fake, supposedly going around the moon. So I think that will all come out into the open on the 10th. That's the way it sounds. This is the end of a 28th-day month. I don't know whether that's going to affect anything in here, but it is 28 days here, and we know that the new calendar is going to have 28 days, 13 months of 28 days each. So I don't know whether they would cut the month off here and make changes in it, but I'm going on this being the main changeover on the 14th. It makes the most sense, Julian April the 1st. There's another date here of 5/1s. That comes from, and this is also the 11th of the month, so that would be 4/11, and it's interesting when you get looking at this, though, because we've always talked about mirroring, and you can do that in months as well. So this would be 4/11 here on the Gregorian, which, if you do the mirroring on the month, it's the 4th month. And then you would count from the end of the year, December, November, October, September. 4 months would take us to September. So you can count this as 7/11 or 9/11, your preference, because September was always sold to us as the 9th month, but it's actually the 7th month in the new calendar. So I think that's an important date. Here, going into the 29th. Then we have Orthodox Easter on the Gregorian calendar. So that is the satanic calendar. This has got a date of, the 12th, 1111. And I counted this as April the 12th, 1/12, 1111, but you could actually, if you call it the 4th month, you'd actually get 3 more ones. So this is an important day, Orthodox Easter, and it's 17 days. We were told that Easter was going to be 17 days after March the 26th, and that is, in fact, 17 days after March the 26th. So that gave us the real Easter. And so that's the Easter. Now we've got this 3.14 graphic here, and this is pi, and that means completing the circle. I put it over here, the circumference over top of the diameter. So if you take a circle and you have the diameter, the length of the diameter, you know what that is. If you take that number and you multiply it by 3.14, then that gives you the circumference of the circle. circumference being, the actual circle itself, which is considered completing the circle. We've always heard, from the secretaries to the president that do their presentations on a regular basis in the White House, in the press room, that they were always going to circle back. So that's another indication of the circle. But that's Pi Day, except that it's actually, this is 4/13. Okay, it's April 4. It's April being the fourth month, 13, and you mirror that and you get 3/14, which is pi, mirrored. And we also have the graphic here. Do I have it? Yes, of the license plate. And you look at this as the license plate, which was on the Kennedy car in 1963 in November when he got assassinated. And this is G is the seventh letter, so you get a 77, and you add that up, you get 14, and then you have your 3 here, because zeros are nothing, so you have a 14-3, and you mirror that, and you get a 3-14. Okay, so that's a big indicator as to where we are. So back to our calendar. And we have that mirrored, and here's some of the numbers down here. 14/3 equals 3/14. It's an important day. It's the end of the month on the Julian calendar, 3/31, so that's the end of March. Here's the beginning of April on the Julian calendar, 4/1. I talked about completing the circle. Apparently the Pam Bondi deposition, she just got fired, is going to be on the 14th. So that would be another good lead into EBS. I didn't put EBS here on the 1st because, as I said, Trump said it would all happen on the 2nd of April. So I'm thinking that we start EBS here on the 14th. And it gets kind of interesting. This is a 17 here that a lot of people are talking about. It's the new moon. In the new calendar, which is going to be the lunar calendar, that's 13 months of 28 days each, we have an extra day that starts the entire year, and each month should start with a new moon. Now that becomes important because this, of course, doesn't change its location. But this is 6 days after the 12th. I want to leave that for a moment. It's a 17-day. It's 4/17 on the Gregorian. It's 4/4. Okay, there's an angel number, 4/4 for you on the Julian calendar. And then I don't have much here until this points to this being the new year, April the 1st. Emergency broadcast is all during this period. And then we get to this 24th. So 10 days from the 15th would take us to the 24th. Well, the 24th is that, remember I talked about the 9 days of the 11th here, and this number, and it being a mirror of September the 11th. Well, this is the mirror of September 11th, 4/11 on the Julian calendar. So that really, to me, represents 9/11, and that is ending on 9/11, mirrored. Okay? The next day is the 12th, and that would be April the 12th, which we've already learned is Orthodox Easter. So the day after we finish EBS becomes Easter. Now, they've talked about, of course, this adjustment of the calendar, and they have to take 13 days out. So if you move back from here and you go to you go to 10 days, that takes us to here, the 15th, and then 1, 2, 3 takes us back to Orthodox Easter. So they would knock out these days, and we would basically, Easter becomes the next day after that, Orthodox Easter on the Julian calendar. I hope that makes sense. If they get rid of all of this, this ends up being the same date as this, and it kind of moves back. And then we would have the new moon. I'm not sure how this would be in the same place, but of course we're taking out these days. So I'm not sure exactly how this is going to end for the transition to the new calendar, but my thinking is it has to happen after EBS or on the end of EBS, because we have to wake up the normies. The normies have to know all about this before we can hit them with anything big. You can't just all of a sudden change the calendar and nobody knows what's going on. So that would be something that would be exposed during the 10 days of the emergency broadcast system. And I don't want to prolong this. That pretty well is our calendar. The other thing with this 14th being the 14th, this goes back to our mountains. And 1, 2, 3, and then 4 to 13, and 14 is in a heart. And we've always looked for that as being a very important date. So there's your 14th, which is again April the 1st. And I always thought this, I just didn't know in my previous calendar whether we were going to finish everything by the 14th or we were going to have EBS after the 14th. And it looks like it's going to be EBS after the 14th, because you could do it here, up in here, 7th and 8th, with all the buildings going down. But the problem with that is we haven't had our alerts, and we haven't had our RV and the military. I think Trump has got to disappear to bring the military in 100%. And then we would have the military in for going to the RV, and then we would go into EBS at the end of that. So that the alerts will get everybody home. And then once they're home, then we go into EBS, and that starts on April the 2nd, which is the 15th on our current Gregorian calendar. And that's pretty well it. I mean, we're going to have some very exciting times over the next couple of weeks. I think this is it, folks. I mean, everything is pointing to this. We've got Trump that disappeared over the weekend. I think he's going to disappear again before, I think, unless he doesn't appear here. So I haven't seen this very many places, but it was a note about Trump at 1 p.m. on Monday doing an announcement. So we'll have to see how this plays out. It's very, very difficult to figure out what's real right now. And so it takes, I have to go through and see if I can find a second source for a lot of this information and somebody I trust. And that's what I do. I like to have two sources for everything. And I don't have it necessarily for the start of the RV. I think it's somewhere in this area, but we have to have the market come down before the money can start to move. And that's very, very important. So I've got this in the order that it should take place as far as I believe. We'll have to see whether it works out that way. So bless you all, and your blessings are coming. They're on the way. So if you're a little bit concerned, I wouldn't be. This really the RV has to happen here first. Then we go in, and that kicks off the humanitarian projects, by the way. And then we would have the wake-up time for the normies, and that would end, it looks like, with Easter, which would actually back up to the previous Easter. And so everything sort of works. It's really amazing how all the numbers work here. Anyway, that's it. That's what I've got for today. And look forward to some sparks flying this coming week.